even though other teachers and the headmaster seem to be worried about giving a re-examination to Mr. Vasakov, who has come back asking for his tuition fees back. The math teacher gives them confidence by saying that if we stick together, we can thwart his designs, we can spoil his plans, we can easily pass him and send him away. But there is only one condition. What is the condition? We must support each other, gentlemen, so that this painful affair doesn't become a pedagogical scandal. So tomorrow, this issue should not become a scandal, academic scandal. Let us have a strategy, a very, very strong strategy. What is that? We'll ask questions. Whatever his answers, we should tell him that his answers are right. In this way, we can pass him in the exam and get rid of this stupid, cunning fellow. So maths teacher tells everybody, every other teacher and the headmaster that there is nothing to worry. They can very, very easily defeat this fellow and prevent him from getting his tuition fees back. The history teacher is still worried and he is asking the maths teacher, come on, who will decide? Then the maths teacher says, don't worry, Mr. Principal, if you will allow me, I will take up on the responsibility. I will take it on myself, the responsibility of deciding whether his answers are right or wrong. Mr. Principal, let us proceed with the examination. Okay, if you give me permission, he tells others, if you will permit me, I'll decide everything. Mr. Principal, let us proceed with the examination. Will show the student, former student, that we too can be very, very clever, shrewd, clever. He thinks that he is very clever. That's why he has come back 18 years after he leaves the school, demanding his tuition fees back, and he thinks that he'll get it very easily. We should outwit him. Will show the old student, Mr. Vasakov, very clearly that we can also be smart, we can also be clever and cunning. The principal, he rings a bell, still not confident, uneasily. Isn't there a chance of something going wrong? The principal again asks the maths teacher, Mr. Maths teacher, if something goes wrong, what will happen? Suppose it gets into the newspapers and tomorrow it becomes an issue. Maths teacher, sir, don't worry, leave it to us, we'll manage. The principal to the servant who has appeared, ask her Vasakov, her Mr. Show in Mr. Vasakov, ask Mr. Vasakov to come in. He enters, Vasakov enters without waiting to be shown in. Normally, how do students enter a chamber? They'll wait at the door and seek the permission of the principal to come in. And after the principal gives a consent, he or she will go inside. But look at this Vasakov, he enters without being asked. He enters without waiting to be shown in, without being invited inside. He just enters. He is most truculent here, disobedient, impolite, very rude. His hat is over one ear. He has worn his hat over one ear. He looks exactly like a rascal. He greets nobody, even though he meets his own teachers who taught him so many years ago. He doesn't greet anybody. He doesn't greet even the principal. He keeps his hands thrust into his pockets like a villain and stares at the principal and others impolitely, insolently, rudely, harshly, impolitely. The staff, bowing, paying respect to him heartily in a friendly way. How do you do? Look here, Vasakov doesn't wish the teachers. Vasakov doesn't seek their permission to come inside, but the staff give him so much of respect. The staff bow to him, pay respect to him, and ask him, how do you do? Look at the reply coming from Vasakov. Vasakov shouts at them by saying, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Sit down, you laughers. He grins, waiting to be thrown out. Vasakov, instead of replying to the question, how do you do, he shouts at every teacher, including the principal, by saying, who the hell are you? I don't care for you. Sit down, you laughers. You're all standing when you see me entering. Just sit down, you laughers. And he addresses the teachers as loafers. Loafers is a very bad word. Here it means idlers. Sit down, you loafers. He grins after shouting at the teachers. After calling the teachers' names, he grins at them. He grins, he gives a sarcastic smile at everybody, waiting to be thrown out, and he's very sure that if he behaves in this way, he will be thrown out of the chamber. That is his objective. He wants to be thrown out of the chamber so that he can prove that he has not passed in the exam. The principal gets angry and shouts at him by saying, how dare you call the teachers loafers? Then the math teacher intervenes, interrupts and stops him. Please, please. Then he turns to other teachers who are standing. Sit down, you loafers. Didn't you hear our students' command? Sit down, you loafers. And he thinks that you're all loafers. Sit down. Why are you standing? Now the teachers look at the math teacher in great surprise. They sit greatly astonished, surprised. Then he turns to Vasako after shouting at all the teachers. Math teacher shouts at all the teachers. He is in fact imitating Vasakov. Vasakov said, sit down, you loafers. Math teacher repeats the same thing and asks the teachers to sit down. And math teacher calls other teachers loafers as Vasakov did. Hearing this, they sit greatly surprised. Then he turns to Vasakov and tells him, my dear sir, the greeting you have just given it shows that you understand the patriarchal manners which we impress upon everybody in this institution. The math teacher had told every teacher and the headmaster that in the re-examination, whatever answers Vasakov gives, they will agree that the answers are right. That was a strategy agreed upon by the math teacher and others. Some math teacher had told them that even if Vasakov gives wrong answers or rude answers or bad answers, they will all agree, they will all tell him that his answers are right. Here, as soon as he enters, Vasakov shouts at all the teachers, behaves very badly. He insults all his teachers, but math teacher tries to justify his bad greeting. How does Vasakov greet the teachers? Who the hell are you? Sit down, you loafer. This is a way in which he greeted his teachers. Now math teacher turning to Vasakov tells him, my dear sir, and he calls his student Vasakov sir. But Vasakov doesn't call the teachers sir. But the math teacher addresses Vasakov as sir, and he says, my dear sir, the greeting you have just given as, what's the greeting? Who the hell are you? Sit down, you loafers. This greeting you're just given us shows that you understand the patriarchal manners which we try to impress upon everybody in this institution. So math teacher tells Vasakov, Mr. Vasakov, oh sir, one thing is very, very clear from your greeting. Your greeting clearly shows that you understand and practice the patriarchal manners that we try to teach everybody in this institution. Our institution is known for the patriarchal manners. What is patriarchy? It is a family system in which father controls everyone and everything. The father rules a house with an iron hand. Now the teacher says, math teacher tells Vasakov that this institution practices patriarchal manners. That means the headmaster controls everything and everybody. The teachers control everybody and everything, and these manners are taught to the students in this institution. So anybody who goes out of this institution will have imbibed the patriarchal manners, which we try to impress upon everybody in this institution, which we try to impress upon, which we try to teach every student in this institution. The way you have greeted the teachers, clearly shows that you behave just like the chief of a family, and you shout at others as you would shout at your children. So that shows that you are a very good ruler. You rule your house with an iron hand. You shout at everybody saying that, or calling them loafers. Exactly as in the days of the medieval humanists, teachers and students meet here on a footing of perfect equality. He goes on to say that, as in the days of the medieval humanists, during the medieval age, when humanism gained currency, gained acceptance, the teachers and the students were considered as equal. Students and the teachers used to meet on a footing of perfect equality during the medieval age, when humanism guided everybody, every family, every institution. Math teacher tells Vasakov, exactly as in the days of medieval humanists, today in our school, though we live in the modern age, teachers and students are considered as equal. In the ancient age, during the ancient period, teachers were considered as superior to the students. Teachers were placed on a higher pedestal in those days. But when we come down to the medieval age, and that too when humanism gained popularity, the teachers and the students used to be considered as equal. Now, the math teacher tells Vasakov that today teachers and students are treated as equal in our institution. You have understood these things very, very well. That's why you shout at your teachers by calling them loafers. Exactly as in the days of medieval humanists, teachers and students meet here on a footing of perfect equality. They are considered as equal. You have shown us, Mr. Vasakov, he has shown us in a most clever way, tactful way, clever way, that you support, you approve of our customs. What are the customs here? Number one, teachers and the students are treated on par with each other. Teachers are not placed on a higher pedestal. Teachers are not considered as superior to the students. They meet on a footing of perfect equality. You have shown us in the most clever way that you approve of our customs. So when I heard you shouting at your teachers, I understood that you support, you approve of the manners, the customs that we try to teach every student in this institution. That is very good of you, and I'm sure my colleagues will agree that Mr. Vasakov, our old student, who appears before us for re-examination, need not be examined in what appertains relates to general manliness. Now, math teacher very cleverly tells Vasakov that he need not take a re-examination in one subject. What is subject? Manners. In manners, as far as manners are concerned, or general manliness is concerned, Mr. Vasakov has got excellent marks. As far as manners are concerned, or general manliness is concerned, Mr. Vasakov is excellent. Instead, we waive the examination in the subject and mark him excellent. So we are going to mark Mr. Vasakov excellent in manners because he has imbibed, he has acquired the patriarchal manners that we try to teach every student in this institute. And Vasakov believes that teachers are equal to the students here and they are not higher than the students. They are not superior to the latter. So since he has understood these things, he treats the teachers as his own friends. That's why when he enters the chamber, he shouts at all the teachers by calling them laughers. The principal now, earlier he was a little worried. The principal now, understanding at once, now he understands what the maths teacher is trying to do and tells everybody, quite right. He writes, manners excellent. Now the principal understands what the maths teacher is trying to do. What is the maths teacher trying to do? The maths teacher is trying to pass Vasakov in every exam. So he says he understands the strategy of the maths teacher. So he says, yeah, you are right, Mr. Maths teacher, you are right, quite right. He writes down manners, excellent. So without the knowledge of Vasakov, one exam has been conducted. What is the exam? Exam in manners, and what is the result? He has scored an excellent in manners. Other teachers also begin to understand what the maths teacher is trying to do, so they also agree with whatever he does. But there is one man who is puzzled, confused. He is at a loss to understand what is happening. So he says, he shrugs his shoulder, he lifts his shoulder because he feels helpless. He doesn't know what is happening now. All right, if you say so, what the hell, I don't care. I don't give a damn for the lot of you. Again he shouts at all the teachers by saying that I don't care for you. I don't give a damn lot for. I don't give a damn for the lot of you. I hate all of you. My being gentleman is not going to pass in this examination. My dear teachers, let me tell you very clearly, whether I am a gentleman or not, that is not going to help me to pass in the real examination. Let me fail as quickly as possible and give me my money. Everything else is just a damned dirty nonsense. So he tells the teachers, what you are doing is a damn nonsense. I cannot approve of it. Okay, give me the real exams. What are the real exams? An exam in geography, an exam in economics, an exam in maths or science. So Vasako wants that kind of exam. But without his knowledge, one exam has already been conducted by the maths teacher, that is in manners. So he said, let me fail as quickly as possible. Give me my money. Everything else is nonsense. Just damn nonsense. The principal flatteringly, the principal talks to him flatteringly as praising him. The principal asks him, speaking for the staff, we agree with you. Oh, Mr. Vasakov, as far as my teachers are concerned, I agree with you. Your exquisite courtesy will not affect us one way or the other. I am very confident of my teachers. I am very sure my teachers will not be affected by your manners. The principal tells Vasakov, Mr. Vasakov, don't worry about the result of the examination. The teachers are not biased. I know my teachers very well. Okay, my teachers will never be guided by any other extraneous factors when they judge your answers. If your answers are right, they'll give you marks. Otherwise, they'll fail you. My teachers are unbiased. My teachers are absolutely objective in their approach. I know my teachers, they are not partial, they are impartial. Your your manners, courtesy, politeness, your exquisite, extremely good manners, your exquisite courtesy, politeness will not impact us, affect us one way or the other. No, whether you are a gentleman or not, that is not going to affect your teachers when they value your papers, when they judge your answers. We'll examine you and you'll be guided entirely by your replies to your questions. Take notice of that. Mr. Vasako, don't get worried. Our teachers are not going to be affected by your behavior. They'll be guided just by your replies to question. Take care of that. Take notice of that. All right, carry on. Let us hear the questions. I need money. He takes off his coat and hitches up his sleeve bands just like a gunda rowdy. He says, all right, carry on. Let us hear the questions. I need money. Then he removes his coat and rolls up his sleeve band. Go to it. Ask a question. Ask me questions. Professors, I mean long-eared asses. He challenges the teachers. He tries to irritate the teachers, insult the teachers by calling them long-eared asses. You know, ass is a donkey. He calls the teachers since they are very old. He calls them long-eared asses. I would like to see you get a single correct answer out of me. It's a challenge. I'm throwing up a challenge, open challenge to you. You cannot get even one correct answer from me. It's a challenge. Try to do that. Just ask me any questions. You won't get even one correct answer from me. The principal. The re-examination will begin now. History teacher Mrs. Keffler, the principal, says, okay, let us not waste time. The examination is going to begin. To begin with, we'll have history examination. And he calls the history teacher Mr. Squeffler. Are you ready? The history teacher. Squeffler is the name of the teacher. Her is Mr. The history teacher moving to the center of the table, indicating a chair facing it. Mr. Vasako, won't you be seated? So history teacher comes to the center of the table because he has to ask questions to Vasakov, the student. Before he begins his examination, he shows a chair to him and asks Vasakov to be seated. Okay, before the master teacher begins the exam, he asks Vasakov whether he likes to be seated. Normally, when you take an exam, you are seated. You can't take an exam standing. So history teacher naturally asks him, "Won't you be seated?" Then Vasakov, in reply, staring at him insolently, impolitely, arms akimbo. Now Vasakov stares at his teachers once again, rudely, insolently, and he has got his arms akimbo. Arms akimbo mean he has put his arms on his hips like as a villain does in a movie. Vasakov, his arms akimbo, tells him, "Hell with your seat, I'll stand." Math teacher offers a seat to him, offers a chair to Vasakov. Seeing the chair, hearing this request, Vasakov shouts at the history teacher, saying, "Hell with your seat, I'll stand." Now the history teacher is a bit nervous, disconcerted when Vasakov refuses to sit down and shouts at the history teacher. The history teacher gets worried, gets nervous, and shows that he expresses his nervousness. But the math teacher leaves here, jumps into the gap breach. Now there is a gap. What's a gap here? There is a pause. There is silence. How is it caused? When Vasako shouts at the history teacher feels nervous. So there is a pause. There is a gap. There is silence. And immediately, seeing the awkward position, embarrassing situation, he jumps into the gap breach. He fills the gap. Math teacher, who is very intelligent, fills a gap. Now maths teacher looks at Vasakov and tells him, bravo, excellent, bravo, wonderful, congrats, great, great, excellent. Mr. Vasakov wishes us to understand two things. Now maths teacher looks at all the teachers and the headmaster and tells them, see, Mr. Vasakov has refused to sit down. Now maths teacher tells him that by refusing to sit down, he wants us to understand two things. The first one, what's that? Vasakov will dispense with, go without, will not have. He will dispense with a formal written examination and will answer orally. So we should understand two things from Vasakov's refusal to sit down. Number one, he does not want a formal written examination and he is going to answer the questions orally. So he is not going to have a written examination. Instead, he will have an oral examination. First thing. Now, the second thing that we should understand from his refusal, what is that? Follows that his physical condition is excellent, splendid. And I take it upon myself to award him an excellent in physical culture. Now, the maths teacher tells other teachers and the headmaster that from his refusal to sit down, we should understand two things. Number one, Mr. Vasako doesn't want a formal written examination and he is going to answer the questions orally. Number one. Number two, he does not want to sit down because his physical condition is excellent. So, he is a man of very, very strong physique. He is physically very, very strong. That's why he wants to stand when he is examined. So that shows that his condition is splendid. So I take it upon myself to award him an excellent in physical culture. He is physically very, very strong. That's why he wants to stand when he is examined. So that shows that his condition is splendid. So I take it upon myself to award him an excellent in physical culture. Without the knowledge of Vasako, the second exam has also been conducted. What is the exam? Exam in physical culture. What is the score? Excellent. What is the first exam? General manliness or manners. What was the result? Excellent. Now he has scored one more excellent in another exam. What is that? Physical culture. So in manners he has scored excellent. Now in physical culture also he has scored excellent. I ask a principal who teaches the subject to agree, concur, agree. Now maths teacher seeks the consent of the principal to announce the result. And he says, why does he ask the principal seek the principal's consent? Because the principal deals with this subject. What is subject? Physical culture. So he asks the principal, sir, will you agree with me if I say he is excellent in physical culture? Now the principal has no fear. He is very confident. He knows what the teacher is trying to do. So tells him, yeah, you're right. He writes, physical culture, excellent. First exam, general manliness or manners, excellent. Now physical culture, excellent. Other teachers also say, oh, agreed. Vasakov energetically, oh no, this is wrong. You're cheating me. He sits and he grins. So far, he has been standing, but when the maths teacher interpreted his refusal to sit down in his own way, Vasako becomes very careful, very alert, and Vasako suddenly sits down. He grins at everybody. He gives an ironical smile, looking at everybody. And Vasako, oh, you caught me once, didn't you? Well, you won't do it again. From now onwards, I will have my ears open. Now Vasco tells the teachers, come on, you caught me once, you trapped me once, didn't you? Hereafter, I won't, you can't catch me again. Once you caught me, didn't you? But hereafter, I'll be very careful, I'll be very attentive. You can't catch me again. From now on, I will be very, very careful. I'll be very, very attentive. I will have my ears open. The principal has also become very intelligent now. The principal, hearing what Vasakov has just said, writes in a paper, oh, alertness, very good. In physical culture is very good. In manners he is very good. Now the principal writes alertness, he is very good. So one more exam is over. Which exam in alertness here, attentiveness. Even in this subject he is very good. History master, who has also become very clever now, tells others in perseverance he is unusual. One more exam is done now. History teacher says in perseverance. What is perseverance here? Continuous efforts despite the failure. If a man goes on putting in great efforts even after he fails, you will say that he has got perseverance. So in perseverance, he is unusual. In alertness, he is very good. In physical culture, he is excellent. In manners, he is excellent. So why does the history teacher says that his perseverance is unusual? Because he has told the teachers that hereafter you can't catch me. From now on, I will have my ears open. Once you defeated me, hereafter you can't defeat me. So that shows that his perseverance is unusual. Then the math teacher says, oh, even in logic, he is excellent. Logic, what is logic here? Clear logical connection between two things. See, Vasakov tells the teachers that he is caught once. That's why he doesn't want to be caught again, and to avoid getting caught, he will be very, very careful. That is logic. His logical understanding is excellent. So, another example. Today is Thursday, so tomorrow is Friday. Yesterday was Wednesday. This is logic. One thing comes out of the other. That is logic. So here, what does the math teacher say is that his logic is excellent? Because he says, since you caught me once, I'll be very, very attentive hereafter. You can't catch me again. That means he's learning lessons from his experience. So his logic is excellent. Vasakov shouts at the teachers by saying that, come on, don't waste your time. Get on with your questions. Math teacher to the principal, not over. Look at his ambition. Boundless here, infinite. There's no boundary. Look at his ambition. Why does a math teacher say that he is highly ambitious? Because he is asking the teachers to begin asking him questions. Unless a student is very, very ambitious, he won't demand questions from the teacher. Since Vasakov is asking the teachers to ask him questions, that shows clearly that he is highly ambitious. His ambition is boundless. Now, the history teacher is scratching his head because he has to think of a good question, and he says, just a minute. The other masters look at him with concern. Other teachers look at the history teacher with concern because he doesn't seem to be getting the question. He's scratching his head, thinking about the question. Vasakov observes this and asks him, what's the matter, Kefla? Aren't you prepared? Oh, you can't think of a good question? Haven't you come prepared? The history teacher, wait a moment. Okay, give me 1 second. Vasako, you can't think of a question that is easy. I know. You can ask only difficult questions. You cannot think of an easy question. That's why you are scratching his. That's why you are scratching your head. You were always such a stupid fellow, numbskull, stupid fellow, moron. Now, Vasakov laughs at the history teacher by saying that when I was a student here in the school, you were such a stupid fellow and you continue to be the same. Now, the history teacher gets the idea, triumphantly, victoriously. Candid, answer this question. I have got the right question. Tell me, how long did the 30 years war last? Finally, the history teacher gets a very easy question. What is the question? Mr. Wasako, tell me, how long did the 30 years war last? Any stupid, any moron or useless fellow can answer this question because the answer is there in the question. What's the question? How long did the 30 years war last? Vasakov is about to say 30, but he checks himself. So if he gives the right answer, then he will pass. He wants to fail here. Vasakov says, sorry, I meant to say I don't know. He interrupts himself, he checks himself, he's about to say 30, but checks himself and say, oh sorry, I don't know the answer.